Being able to control the trajectory of your golf ball is a critical skill to be able to do. It really helps us to meet the demands of the golf course. Every day is not a perfectly still day. We're going to have wind, of course we are. So we want to be attuning ourselves in our practice to these environmental demands that the course brings. And being able to control that ball flight is going to really help to elevate your ability to navigate yourself around the golf course more successfully. So today we're going to be looking at angle of attack and using angle of attack to help control the flight. How to play the low shot. What can we be doing to help really create the conditions, the impact, to ensure we've got a golf club that's delofted, keeping the loft down, and in also ensuring that we get the strike on the ball still as well. So this is going to help you play those stingers that you might have seen Tiger play in his prime, those low striping iron shots that go head high through the sky, take the wind out of consideration, and you get a nice load of roll for your money as well. So often strategies that you might have even tried at home to keep that ball flight down is move the ball back in your stance, keep your weight on the left side, and try and swing really steep into the ball. But this can really compromise your strike, but also your body movement as well. We still want to be moving here, we still want to be creating a lot of energy, we still need loads of speed here, so we want to make sure that we're not changing things that might actually be making life a little bit more difficult for us. And moving the ball position back can really hinder that because our low point moves back with it as well. And this is where we can start to catch the ball a bit too early, bring the ground into play, and ultimately sacrifice the strike in an effort to try and keep it low. Just like chipping, having the ball position way far back, it's a little bit of a cheat way of doing it. It's not really allowing us much opportunity to shift and move our body weight that much, because if we do, it's going to really make finding that golf ball at the bottom very difficult. So placing it off your back foot might not be the answer that you need to create that low stinging flight and trajectory on the ball. So what we're going to explore is how can we take the loft off the club and ensure we still get the strike and we get that low piercing flight that keeps the wind at bay and doesn't affect the flight of the golf ball. So to do that, we're going to have to ensure that our low point is ahead of the golf ball. If you've got the low point behind and you've got a club early releasing, this is when you start to see the club overtake too early and we're actually presenting more loft. We want quite the opposite to this. We want to be over here where we've taken the loft off the club, we've got the sweet spot descending onto the golf ball, get maximum energy transfer out so we still get loads of distance and still keep the ball flight under control. So in order to create these impact conditions, we want to ensure that this release is happening later on. So just like the pendulum, we've got the club trailing behind. When this grip end stops, this club's going to go. And if we get it stopping too early, club overtakes, that's where we're actually adding loft and it goes higher. So we want to ensure that this pendulum, this butt end is way past the ball, so we're delofting the club to give us that low flight. So how do we do that? How do we ensure that this club head has time to travel so we can let the release happen later? And this can really be influenced by our body mass, letting our body weight move. So I'm going to use the GRF as a nice visual for you guys to develop a feel for how we can control when this golf club releases. Because as soon as my pressure stops, this is going to go. So if I'm not letting my pressure shift ahead, so this is giving me time to let this club travel, get the butt end ahead so this can release later. This is the first place we want to be going to, letting the pressure shift to let the club travel. So we've got this late release, delofting the club to keep that flight down. And you can do it in one hand, just sensing that travel time on the golf club. And what's going to allow it to travel? If the body weight moves and we shift. And this is a great sense for you to feel the swish where it happens. Can we make the swish happen this side of the body as opposed to in line with the body? So we're really getting a sense spatially, temporally, when the snap is happening. And you'll notice how this requires a shift of pressure to let this travel, then it can go. If I don't shift my pressure, my low point's not moved ahead enough, that's when we get the club firing too early and working back. Letting that pressure shift is a key feature in keeping that ball flight down and getting that low point ahead. And you can use the mat on the range just to really develop some sense of when this is happening. You can play around with foot in different parts of the mat. So to help sensitize you to when this pendulum is releasing, I'd encourage you to put 3 balls down on the ground, and you're going to set up to the middle ball but try and strike the first ball here. And what you'll start to very quickly recognize is I don't really need to move my pressure that much to strike the ground here, but we know that's going to be delivering a lot of loft by the time it gets back to the middle ball. If I want to strike the third ball while setting up to the middle ball, I've got to make a much different movement with my body weight. I've got to let my whole body shift ahead to move that low point ahead so I can strike it later. And you can see I just stopped post impact how this looks. Got the shaft lean, I've got the loft taken off. That's going to help me play it lower, as opposed to back here it's quite the opposite. Loads of loft, not very much shaft lean, sweet spot's moving away from the ball, it's just going to pop up. So this is a great visual for you to do one-handed to really appreciate how the whole body's adapting its form to achieve that later strike, that later release, and ultimately that delofted with shaft lean to create that low flighting shot. If you've got a GRF board at home, this can really help to create the awareness of where's the body at point of strike. When I feel that club release and strike the ground, where is my body in all of this to help influence when this happens. If I stay on this side of the board, it's going to be very hard for me to find that third ball. I'm probably going to be hitting the first or the second at best, and certainly adding loft. But when I start to let my pressure shift across, this is going to allow the club to travel, then release later on, so I get that delofted looking club face and that shaft lead as well to help achieve that. So to help us get a sense of how the whole body can influence this delivery of the club, this steep angle of attack that's going to be required to take the loft off, drive that ball low, I want you to take the club like nunchucks. So you're just going to support it between the thumb and the forefinger at the side with the grip end pointing towards the target. And we're going to use this as a visual to help sense the path of least resistance to give us this steep angle of attack. If your club's coming round here, this is going to make life very difficult to achieve this steep angle of attack. I'm going to be coming in quite shallow, picking it off, popping the ball up in the air. Oppositely is when I'm working up and down, you can see where the grip end's pointing down to the ground. If I bring my hands together on the club, it's very much a different delivery position. And you can see which one's going to give me that angle of attack, that steep angle of attack to get that ball flight under control and nice and low. So fingers together, move it up and down just to feel the space the body's moving through, the club's moving through. Then bring your hands together on the club, and it really helps just to appreciate where the delivery and how the shape of the swing can really influence this angle of attack that we're looking for to get that low strike. And then you can start to take it into the downswing. So from this delivery position, it's going to really help to give us the angle of attack, how we're going to move this grip end towards that first ball. We're going to shift, we're going to let our body weight shift ahead, move that pressure ahead. Now we've got a club travelling down, releasing later. Bring the hands together again, and you really start to appreciate where we are in space with this club, the angle of it, the delivery of it. This is going to really help to give me that downward angle of attack, get the shaft lean and squirt that ball out nice and low. And after you've had a few rehearsals with the exercise, start to make a few swings to feel the angle of attack, feel that shift of pressure to get the low point ahead and that release on the ball. So once you've had a few goes with that exercise, go and play a few shots now. You've developed some awareness to angle of attack, the space the club's travelling in, the timing of the release, and the timing of your pressure shift to help create that later release with that lovely shaft lean and delofted club to drive it under the wind. Give that a try, keep the ball under the wind, control the ball flight, play better golf.